Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The French President Emmanuel Macron says further police will be deployed after more than 800 people were arrested yesterday evening during the third night of riots across France. Much of Paris looked more like a war zone. Fireworks used as a weapon against police. Thousands of vehicles were set ablaze in cities and towns across France, despite 40,000 officers being mobilized to keep the peace. Here, a swimming pool construction site being built for next year's Olympic Games was set ablaze in the Parisian suburb of Aubervilliers. And here, a Nike store, one of hundreds of shops to be looted across the capital. The officer who shot the teenager dead has apologized to the family. He has been charged with voluntary homicide and his lawyer says he is devastated. The teenager's death has revived grievances about policing and racial profiling in France's suburbs. Earlier, the United Nations Rights Office said it was concerned by the fatal shooting.
We note that an investigation has been launched into alleged voluntary homicide. This is a moment for the country to seriously address the deep issues of racism and racial discrimination in law enforcement.
Two 14-year-old twins, Anna and Yulia Aksenchenko, who were among 12 people killed during a Russian missile strike, have been buried. At the ceremony, a crowd of around 30 relatives, friends and local residents gathered to pay their respects. The family held a mourning ceremony for them at their apartment several hundred meters away from the site. They were killed in a Russian attack on a busy restaurant several days ago, with dozens of others badly injured.
How are you, sir? So good to see you again. Good to see you too. Thank you so much for welcoming us back.
Meanwhile, the former US Vice President Mike Pence, who is running to be the Republican nomination in the 2024 presidential election, has made a surprise visit to Ukraine and met President Volodymyr Zelensky. During talks with the Ukrainian president, Mr. Pence vowed to keep providing with Ukraine the support they needed for the duration of the conflict.
The Ukrainian military is making steady advances against the Russians, and I assured him that for my part, we'll continue to do everything in our power to make sure that we provide the Ukrainian military with the support they need until they repel the Russian invasion and restore the sovereignty of this country.
Britain has set out a new workforce hiring plan for England's state-run National Health Service, seeking to tackle staff shortages. A beloved institution at the centre of Britain's post-war national identity, the NHS has about 112,000 vacancies, a gap that could more than triple by 2037 without action.
We're announcing the most ambitious transformation in the way that we staff the NHS in its history, the long-term workforce plan. This is a 15-year plan to deliver the biggest ever expansion in the number of doctors and nurses that we train, and a plan to reform the NHS so we deliver better care in a changing world.
Tourists in the central German state of Hesse will be able to get a bit closer to heaven starting on Saturday, when Germany's longest suspension bridge opens after 6 years of planning and construction. 664 metres long with a height of up to 100 metres and a weight of 120 tonnes, the bridge has a carrying capacity of up to 750 people. And starting today, art from antiquity to the 20th century is being auctioned at Christie's Classic Week in London. This year's sales are led by a remarkable panel called The Entombment of Christ by El Greco, which is expected to go for around £8 million. A landmark rediscovery of the last known pair of portraits by Rembrandt at auction 200 years after they were last seen are also thought to sell for around £8 million. The series, which includes 10 live auctions and 1 online sale, will run until the 14th of July. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.